start. Thanks for doing this on such a short notice, by the way. I have this terrible procrastination habit, so you know.
Okay.
I was like, man, I need to do an interview, and I haven't found anybody. I need to do this.
What class is this for?
It's my Project Lead the Way Principles of Engineering class. So.
Is this for college or?
No, it's for high school.
High school? Okay.
Yeah, I'm taking a college class in like electrical engineering, but that doesn't have me do stuff like this. That's programming and circuit design.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, I have to. Let me just find something really quickly because I had like prepared questions. I don't remember them though, because my memory's a little whack sometimes. How are you? That's a good.
I'm doing fine.
Doing fine. All right. What inspired you to go into mechanicals? Like, what led you down this path? Yeah.
Well, originally I thought that I wanted to be an environmental engineer.
Mm-hmm.
I was big into things like Ducks Unlimited and the National Wild Turkey Federation and things like that did a lot of conservation work.
Okay.
And I kind of figured that I wanted to do something that was conservation-minded. And then when I got I was immediately accepted into the Environmental Engineering College at USF. And then when I learned exactly what environmental engineers do, which is usually not fun things like sewage treatment plant work and HVAC and things like that.
I mean, I know there's some like water stuff, environmental.
Yeah, a lot of water.
Yeah.
Water treatment, things like that. I said, this is not what I thought it was going to be. And so I wanted to switch majors, and I chose mechanical engineering because it looked like a good bet. There's an awful lot of computer engineers, and I didn't think I was going to be a computer engineer or a software engineer. And mechanical engineers, you had a kind of it looked like you were going to be more of a mutt.
Yeah, there's a lot of variety in that field. It's pretty vague. It's like, man, does it turn things? Does it do something? That's mechanical.
Yeah. And it involves a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that I was inspired to do it so much as I knew I didn't want to be an environmental engineer, and I knew I didn't want to be an electrical or a computer engineer.
But you wanted to do something in the engineering field.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
And once I got into it, it was interesting.
Yeah, and how would you describe mechanical engineering like as a field in your view? Like how would you?
I would say.
Yeah.
Now it's a multi-disciplinary field.
Uh-huh.
It is extremely varied in what you do, and it kind of requires a wide scope of knowledge in order to be successful at anymore. And I think it's a lot different than when I went to college, even in the early 2000s. It's changed a hell of a lot in the last 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Like what ways has it changed?
I think people were still more old school. There was not nearly as much computer-aided design.
Mm-hmm.
And that shift happened probably about the time I graduated and then onward.
Yeah.
And more so than just, because mechanical engineers, we make a lot of drawings, we do design work, and we literally design things that people use. So
yeah. We do
it's more than just using a tool that is for drawing stuff. everything that goes along with designing something that somebody's going to use.
Yeah. I'm aware of that much though, because we do a lot of stuff with my school, because we have a very good like engineering program.
Mm-hmm.
And we have access, like our teacher got us he got an industrial mill a few years ago. And there's like a laser cutter and a wind tunnel and stuff like that. And so we do different projects that are like, you have to design a system that, like, our last project was we had to design a system using basic mechanisms like levers and wedges and screws and pulleys, wheel and axle, all that. And we had to get it to be to a mechanical advantage of 64 and then get it to lift like a 20.1 pound bar, 18 inches. And we had to design it and do all that. So that was fun.
And that's like just the beginning of it.
Yeah, that's just the tip of the iceberg of what you're going to do.
Because mechanical engineers, what you find out in school, and even more so once you get out of school, is that the minutia of all the aspects of what you are doing become important for your product or for whatever it is you're designing.
Yeah.
And you have to worry about, is this ergonomic? Is this are there going to be any vibrations in this somewhere at the speeds we're operating?
Or like specifically like tolerances of the part and
yes, the tolerance of the part are extremely important.
Yeah.
And you have to worry about temperature, and you have to worry about how often is this thing going to be cycled? Is it going to start breaking down? Is the material going to last for a while? You know, it's a lot to think about, and especially now that we have a whole lot of little gizmos that you can control.
Yeah.
It's even worse now than it ever has been.
Well, especially,
which is a great thing for consumers, but it means that guys like me have to really be on the ball in order not to screw things up in the design.
Yeah. Would you say that there's like a sudden shift in like the amount of attention you have to pay in minute details from going from like, you know, high school to college, and then like a sudden shift once you go to like actually making things? Or designing parts?
From high school to college, at least for me, I wouldn't say that it was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of difference. I mean, there's obviously a big difference between college classes and high school classes, but it's like anything. If you apply yourself, you'll get through it.
Right.
But going from college to a career is a lot different in that now there's somebody is, you know, paying for this. They're paying for your time, and all of a sudden there's a great deal of accountability in what you're doing. And especially in mechanical engineering, in some of the different fields, that could, you know, those details could mean the difference between life and death. And that's a big burden to carry around, especially if you're working with bridge design or something like that.
Yeah, because there's been cases of bridges where they're off by like 1 decimal point and then the whole thing collapses.
Or you have a big project like there's two big case studies. One is the Kansas City High Regency disaster, in which a contractor changed out a coupler for a walkway support, and they ended up coupling these rods together, and it like quintupled the amount of force on a little box tube, and the box tube broke. The walkways collapsed, killed like 100 people. Little things like that are pretty important. And in my industry, in aerospace, you know, we have to be very careful because, if a guy in the military is using one of our products, you don't want it to fail at the wrong time.
Yeah, so that's I was gonna eventually segue into that. So that's what like you're specifically doing is aerospace, like stuff with that.
Yeah, I guess technically I'm an aerospace engineer.
Well, I mean,
I'm a mechanical engineer first.
Yeah.
And luckily, the things that we make won't directly influence life or death situations, and I kind of like it that way.
I like to not have such a heavy weight to bear.
Yeah.
Like, I can mess up a decimal point, and the product might not work right, but nobody's
going to die because of it, yes.
Yeah.
Well, and we're a very small company, and I'm the only mechanical engineer there, so the whole burden's on me.
What specific company do you work for? I never actually asked
you. I work at UBC Incorporated.
Okay.
We are a small aerospace company that does research and development and manufacture of antennas that are used for threat simulators.
For what simulators?
Threat simulators. Threat.
Okay.
So we make antennas that go on drones and planes that then get used as target practice by our customers.
Oh, okay.
And along with that, maybe nobody's going to die, but those missions cost millions of dollars. So
they're still high budget, just not as serious as life or death.
And you were mentioning the decimal point problem. The Mars lander, the original one, was screwed up because a sensor on it did not convert metric to English properly. And like a $2 billion project went flying into the Mars's surface because they didn't have the correct trajectory because of a sensor. And I just happened to work with a guy that worked on that project. It was kind of funny. He doesn't put that on his resume.
Yeah, he's like, I'll just leave that one out, It
wasn't his fault, but nobody wants to be associated with that project.
Yeah, when you're associated with a $2 billion bust, you just kind of don't mention it.
Yeah.
You don't hide it, but you don't tell him either.
Yeah.
Specifically, I don't really like to ask questions like that, but what is like specifically your most recent job title? It's like a required question. I don't really like stuff like that, but
I'm not exactly sure what my job title is right now, but I think I'm either Mechanical 2, Engineer 2, or Mechanical Engineer 3.
Okay.
I don't think they call me the Senior Mechanical Engineer, but I'm the only one they got, so...
Okay. I'll just say Senior Mechanical Engineer at the company. That sounds simple. I don't know, because job titles are kind of like an iffy thing. It's like you just work, I feel like it's more like you should just work and not really worry about titles, but...
Yeah.
There's certain questions that, like there's more questions that I want to ask that aren't just, like, what they gave me, but there's, like, certain ones, like, oh, you need to ask these throughout it. And I'm like, I guess. I mean, these aren't the best questions, but I can ask them. Wait, what degree did you obtain in school, like, specifically?
An MSME, so Master's of Science, Bachelor's of Science Mechanical Engineering.
Okay. And I take it after a few years you got your PE?
No, actually, I don't have a PE. I passed the EIT exam, but in order to get a PE, you have to work for a PE.
Oh, okay.
And we don't have any. And in general, in aerospace, there's not a lot of PEs.
Okay, I didn't really know too much. I wasn't sure because, I mean, we briefly talked about PEs in my civil... Because I have a right this year, my junior year, I have civil engineering and I have principles of engineering.
Yeah.
Whereas last year I had computer integrated manufacturing and digital electronics. But yeah, we briefly mentioned PEs, and like my teacher had said, she was going into civil, and more specifically with water. Well, not civil, but like environmental, which is a subsect of civil.
Yeah.
She was water flow and stuff like that, and she said that she was talking about PEs, and it's like 5 years of work usually, and then.
Yeah, you have to work under a professional engineer for 5 years, and then they have to recommend you for the test.
Oh, okay.
And then you take the test and pass it.
Because she was going to do it.
A nice little stamp.
And then she didn't because she started teaching, so...
Yeah,
she didn't go too much into the specifics. Well, I guess also you're working at like a smaller company too, so it's not...
Well, usually you only need a professional engineer if something has to be signed off on that is...
oh, okay. So it's more of like a title type thing.
Well, it's... A lot more civil engineers are professional engineers because the things get inspected by, state and national authorities and have to get approved.
Okay.
Usually because, you build a roadway, you do or you're putting in some kind of civil project. You've got people involved and people are going to use it, so they want a professional engineer to sign off on it.
Okay. It's more of like a security type thing where it's like, okay, this person is definitely approved.
It's a CYA.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right. Just a little stamp. Okay, that makes... I mean, I don't know. I wasn't too sure about how specifically they work. That's why I was curious. So we only talked about it.
I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody in aerospace that has a PE.
Okay. Well, that's something else I learned because of this. I wanted to do this anyways. I mean, it's an assignment, but it's also nice to do it too because you can learn a lot of stuff from it. So, that's okay. So with your work, how is it like? How is it the day-to-day of your job? How does that go?
Well, 95% of I think anybody who's in engineering is probably administrative kind of work.
Yeah.
It's not design. Unless you are at some super high tech design firm, and that's all they do day in and day out, and there are very few of those.
Yeah, those are very...
Usually, you're gonna spend most of your time doing administrative type work. That it's important. You have to do it. It's not sexy, but you've got to write reports. You've got to write emails, communicate with people, check on jobs with your machine shop, and make sure that your deadlines are going to be met for getting your parts in, for all sorts of things. The actual design tasks that you end up doing don't take up that much of the time. So, and that's going to be in anything you do.
Yeah, I knew that. It's a lot of paperwork and formality. I mean, not formalities. I mean, you need it, like you said. It's important.
Yeah, you got to have documentation so you know what you've done.
Yeah, I mean,
you can do it again, or if something gets screwed up, you can go back and check.
Yeah, no. With our stuff we do at school, we keep engineering notebooks and update those daily. So,
yeah,
we have those. So they're preparing us for a lot of the documentation of, if you actually go into the field and you're going to do a lot of day-to-day. This is what I did today.
Then there's, your boss asks you to do something, and you have no idea how to do it, and you end up spending half your day Googling.
It's a great resource to have, though.
Well, there's times that happens. You're going to continuously learn.
Yeah, that's good. So it's not. I mean, it's systematic, but also at the same time, you're still going to have opportunities to continue learning new things. So it doesn't get stagnant, per se.
If you don't learn new things, you're not going to be successful.
Okay, that's
the technology and the sciences that are happening are advancing way too fast for you not to keep learning.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, this is just something I thought of now. What particular programs do you use when you are designing and modeling?
Well, we're a small firm and pretty old school, and so we're actually still using 2D CAD.
It's like AutoCAD type things?
Yeah.
Or? Okay.
AutoCAD program.
Okay.
For our general design work. Now we also We have programming suites for control systems and things like that,
Okay.
and some specialized software for RF and electrical, like creating circuit boards and things like that.
Multisim is one that I know of for creating circuit boards. I know there's others, but because at our school so I've gotten user certifications in 3 programs. I've used AutoCAD, Revit, and Inventor.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gotten certified in those. I'm going to try and get my professional certifications before I graduate high school. And then I'm planning on getting AutoCAD and Revit this year and then Inventor next year. And also with our digital electronics class last year, we've had background creating circuits and practicing with them in Multisim. So I was curious as to what, programs you use, because it's good that my school offers this, so we have some background, because I know that a lot of jobs use different programs. But now we have like a wide variety that we've touched on, so we're like prepared.
Well, depending on what field, are you going to go into mechanical engineering or?
I'm not too sure. I mean, it's an idea I'm open to, but I'm not too particularly sure about it. I kind of like electrical, which is completely different, but I'm not sure right now at this time. So that's why I'm doing this too, as well as like to see and feel it out, because one of our teachers is a former electrical engineer, so I can ask him questions about that. But mechanicals also seemed interesting, and this is a good opportunity to learn about that.
Well, so as far as programs are concerned, when you do go to work somewhere, there'll be a mechanical engineering department, an electrical engineering department, software engineering department, and you'll work together with these people, but they want you to be a specialist in what you do.
Yes.
Somewhat. But there's also an interdisciplinary part of that, and mechanicals tend to have to know a little bit about everything in order to do their job well.
It seems like it. It's a very widespread and vague field because it kind of overlaps and touches with everything.
Yeah, you can design a circuit board or design a circuit, but you got to have a mechanical engineer to give you an envelope to design in, a size envelope, the environmental envelope, things like that, so you know what kind of parts to pick, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And then you go and you design a circuit, you get a board made, but the mechanical guy has to figure out how to fit it in, make sure that it's got the right heat sinking, make sure that there's if there's going to be any sort of environmental factors like water or ice or heat, cold, all that, those kinds of things. And so we have input in each stage of the design process so that electricals end up knowing what to do. And I think my boss, he kind of puts it the best way. He says that electrical engineers think up something that they want to do, and then they go tell the mechanicals to do it.
That reminds me of the jokes they make at school about civil and architecture. They're like, the architect thinks of something, and the civil engineer's like, whoa. That's not realistic. We got to fix this.
Exactly. I mean, and it's neat in that respect. It's frustrating in that respect, too.
Yeah. So to me, it sounds like it's kind of like the glue that kind of holds things together, because you're making sure things actually function and actually work properly.
Yeah.
And are realistic.
Especially where I work, I have to be very active in what the other engineers are doing, because there's only one of me. So I have to learn, and I have to know what's going on.
Yeah.
A lot of places, a lot of the larger companies like Harris or Lockheed and those kinds, you very well could get put on a project and you're kind of in your own little world until they want your little part.
Right. So with you and on a smaller scale, it's more interconnected.
Definitely more.
Okay. Oh, that's weird. There was something I was going to look at, and it's gone. Because I had other questions, but I don't remember them. Like, I don't know why I don't remember them. I'm interested in this, you know? I'm doing this more than out of obligation, but my memory is failing me. Oh, yeah. So what is, like, the biggest thing you've worked on personally, just as in your career so far? Like,
biggest in what way?
I don't.
I've managed over $50 million in procurement and did some design work along the way.
I guess maybe like budget wise, like what's the biggest thing you've managed budget wise, and what's the biggest thing you've managed like importance wise? I guess, or like two distinctions I should make.
Well, I mean, as far as importance, we're not doing anything groundbreaking.
No, I mean
particularly. So it's a very we have a very practical setup.
Mm-hmm.
In that we have a design that we've been constantly modifying over the years. My biggest personal like things that I've been happy with that I've worked on were when the older guys there that had 30 years of experience were stumped on something, and I came up with a solution to it. Those are the kinds of things that are really kind of make you happy.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of vindicate you.
Yeah.
But at this point in my career with my company, I've seen and done it all. I've worn every hat, and I've managed millions of dollars in projects. I've designed crazy things that like motor housings that you wouldn't think were physically possible to make, and you wouldn't think that you could come up with this shape out, pulling it out of your butt basically, and make it work.
Yeah.
It's there's some really interesting things, and you go back and you look at it and you say, I can't believe I came up with that. Or this thing looks like a piece of art now, or something like that, And then there's been some times where you're working on really droll things that and they end up being really important.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you kind of talked about, like, what do you enjoy most? Is it those, like, vindicating moments when you succeed and come up with this good idea that you thought may have not been possible?
Yeah, I would say, those kind of aha moments, I think everybody likes them, but it's really few and far between for the most part.
Mm-hmm. And what would you say you enjoy least about being an engineer in general, or being a mechanical engineer specifically?
Spreadsheets.
Just spreadsheets. Do you have like a vengeance against like Microsoft Excel?
I can use it. It works, but it is so annoying to have to input crap into spreadsheets and work with database crap, and
mm-hmm.
it's so annoying to have to work with.
I didn't think.
And then somebody, in an office environment, you don't, unless you have a personal spreadsheet or something like that you're using to control something, even if it's just an inventory or something like that. When you have shared files, you get all kinds of problems, even at a small place like where I work, where somebody will have a different version of Excel.
Oh, God.
and they save something, and then the next thing you know, the spreadsheet doesn't work, and you spend a half a day trying to fix the stupid thing.
We've encountered that issue.
It's pretty aggravating.
Because when we a lot of things we do are an assembly out of like specific like Vex robotics parts, right?
Yeah.
And we have like this assembly, and we have like our parts folder individually, and we all modify our parts in slightly different ways to create work axes and planes so we can like constrain them in Inventor to make an assembly. And a lot of times what will happen is we're working with somebody and we're both doing CAD, and we're like, hey, send me these files, but your parts aren't exactly the same as theirs. So then they have to like export this huge file that's just a library of parts, and then you have to save that to your flash drive and consume more space that's pretty much the same thing, just so you can open like one file and use it. That happens a lot. That happened a lot. Last year we had to simulate a mill out of the Vex robotics parts, and it was a mess. And
and I can imagine that if you work at a big company, stuff like that
happens.
They probably have standards that they probably make you learn right away.
True.
And it's not like total, it's not like a standard you can just go out and learn. This is what the company does, and so you're learning exactly what they want.
House rules.
Yeah. So things like that don't happen as often, but like you said, everybody's got their little ways of doing things.
Yeah, because say I make, one less work axis on a part, and then somebody makes one more than I did. If I try to open it using my stuff, it'll be like, no, this doesn't work. And then I have to go download all these files. It's not fun, because it's like a really large part library.
Yeah.
And it takes forever to translate. You can't really send it over any like popular things you would like. We use Telegram a lot for like file sharing, and you'd have to like directly just copy it over through their flash drive on the same computer, or like upload it to Microsoft's like Office OneDrive and then download it again from there, and it's not fun. Very generic and boring question, but how is the salary as a mechanical engineer? How is the...
It's not bad. It's not, you're not going to, move any mountains.
Right.
Unless you can get a job at, a really big...
High tech.
Place, like,
high end.
If you can get a job at a Lockheed or a Raytheon or a Harris, and then keep your job for more than 5 years, then you might start making some pretty good money. But the problem is that those kinds of places tend to recycle their guys pretty quickly. And about every 5 years, they'll have a large amount of turnover. And I don't know if that's because of the quality of the people or just that they're trying to save a few bucks.
I mean, it might be...
So you never know.
They might just want to continue introducing new ways of thinking, possibly. Just like...
No, it's kind of, I'd say that's a cover. A lot of those
maybe it is a cover. Maybe they are just trying to save money so they don't have to pay them as large of salaries.
That's the truth. And going back to the amount of knowledge, guys that are coming out of college, even though they might not have as much experience, they are coming out with experience in all of the latest design tools, and let's face it, when you're younger, you have more ideas.
Yes, that's
you're not as set in your ways, and you're cheaper to hire.
Yeah.
So if you can get away with recycling some young guys and getting rid of some older guys, you save yourself a heck of a lot of money on your bottom line.
Mm-hmm. And how is your...
That's kind of a cynical view.
No, but I mean, sometimes cynicism is the way to go.
I've had my job for 15 years.
Okay.
So, and I make an okay salary, but it's not the greatest. But I also work at a really small company.
If you don't mind me asking, what roughly is it?
Around 80,000.
Okay. Yeah, it's like a decent amount, but not like crazy or anything.
No, and if I wanted to change jobs and go work at somewhere like a, Honeywell or Lockheed or whatever, yeah, I might be able to get hired there, but can I keep that job for more than 5 years?
Yeah, longevity is a thing you have to look at too.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Insurance is expensive.
Yeah.
I know that because my wife is on my insurance and I'm paying $750 a month for it. It's more than our mortgage.
Do you have any regrets about how you went about your career? Like, is there anything you would change about how you went about how you did school, like what college? Or...
I would have tried to go back and get a master's degree. Number one, I did briefly, and I had to stop because of the whole downturn in the economy back in 2009.
Yeah.
I had a bad personal problem with the Chinese drywall in my condo, and the whole housing crisis thing hit me personally pretty hard, and so I just couldn't afford to go back to school. Okay. And I would have liked to have finished that, but also continued to get like a business degree or something like that, because that can be useful, especially if you can get a little longevity in a place, you end up becoming a manager.
Right, so that way if they get tired of you designing things for them, they're like, oh, we can hire you as a manager now too. So.
Yeah, and if you really want to make a lot more money, that's the path you take.
Okay.
But other than that, I just thinking about it. It was. I'd probably say I've let some of my computer skills stagnate.
Like in what regard? Like what specific skills?
I don't have very good programming skills, and only because I haven't bothered to really learn how, because I just don't need to for my job.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm in a programming class right now, but I didn't sign up for the programming part of it. I signed up for the circuits because I don't like programming.
No, I don't like to do it. I can do it, but I'm not gonna go to Google or someplace like that. I just know I would go nuts having to do that all day in and day out.
Yeah, it's very meticulous.
But there was something you were saying, like regrets, and there was. I had two things, and I told you one. I don't remember what the other thing was now.
It's okay. What specific advice could you give to somebody, like, say me or somebody else, that wants to go in engineering careers in general, or maybe even specifically mechanical?
This applies to all engineering disciplines. There's two things. Number one, when you go to college, make friends with all your professors, every single one of them.
Okay.
Get to know them. Get in their heads. Go to their office hours, even if you don't have a lot of questions. Go to their office hours and get to know them really well, because you're going to need an internship. And the more people that like you of your professors, even if you're not doing well in their course, if you show initiative by going to their office hours and asking for help and doing things like that, when it comes time to get an internship, they get people call them from their network of people they've worked with, or people maybe they went to college with, and you're gonna be building a network through them to get an internship. And that's what my regret was, is I didn't do an internship.
Okay. I'm actually going to try and get one over this summer, actually.
Well, it'll be a lot more important when you're a junior or a senior in college.
Yeah, I mean, I just figure if I try to get one now, at least, even if I don't get it, but if I do get it, it'd be nice to get some experience, like, really early on, just to have more preparation.
Yeah. Well, like, I knew a guy in school that had an internship from the time he just got lucky, and when he was his second semester of of his freshman year, he got an internship with Honeywell, and he interned there for 4 years. And of course, they hired him right away as soon as he got out of college.
Yeah.
And finding a job can be a nightmare. And if you don't have an internship,
especially today,
it's hard.
Yeah, because you'll hear about people and they have like all these degrees and they're like, oh, got to work at Walmart for a little while until somebody hires me.
I had to go back to waiting tables for like 6 months after I graduated. But build your network. That's going to be very, very important. Build a network of people that, not necessarily that you can count on, but that you can call up and they aren't going to think of you in a bad way.
Right.
And like I said, professors are great for that, especially when it comes time for you to get an internship, because the really good ones, the really neat ones, aren't going to be the ones that you're just going to be able to, apply for online or something. That
you would need a recommendation
like
from
an open call for. The really cool ones are going to be when, the testing division at Honeywell calls up and says, "Hey, I need somebody to work on our destructive testing team for a summer," and you get to spend your summer blowing shit up. That kind of thing. Literally, going out, getting flown out to the desert, and they, take their products and they put them in a bunker with a bunch of explosives and literally blow them up.
Yeah. Things you would need recommendation
like that can be
for.
really fun, and you build a network, and you could. Then once you get out of college, you'll have that network, and you'll find getting a job a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah.
So that's almost as important as your grades.
Yeah, I gotta do better with that.
The magic number is a 3.4.
Oh, I'm good then.
That's the magic number.
I have a 3.77 right now.
No. It's harder to maintain that 3.4 in college because there's a lot more distractions and a lot more things you got to worry about. Especially if you go away to college, it's what am I going to eat?
I'm not worried about going away. I kind of intend on just going to USF because it's a good school and it's right there.
Don't sell yourself short.
Oh, I'm not. I don't mean it like in a selling myself short way. It's just they genuinely have things I would want to do there. So.
Well, it matters. It stinks because I'm a graduate of USF, but it matters where you go to college.
Yeah.
And unless you have that really good network, the graduates coming out of USF are going to be further down the line than the guys coming out of Georgia Tech, or the guys coming out of Embry-Riddle, or even UF.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that your education is going to be less, because honestly, your education is, I think, more dependent on you than it is your school. You can go to Georgia Tech or you can go to MIT, but if you don't apply yourself when you take your classes, it doesn't matter. Maybe you graduated, but you graduated from MIT with a 2.7. If you had applied yourself and had a 4.0 at USF, maybe that's a little better. But damned if the names on those diplomas, they do matter.
Okay.
So there are USF does do some cool things, and I think they're one of the better engineering schools, but I don't think that they have the same. They just don't have the same reputation as some other places.
Yeah, they don't have that name brand kind of seal on the diploma.
Yeah, and along with the network as well.
Takes a lot more to.
So many people go to University of Florida.
Yeah.
It's a big deal there, and school is much different there than it is at USF. just the camaraderie between the students. They're all Florida Gators.
Right.
They have a rallying point, whereas it's not as, you just look at the attendance at a USF football game. It's not the same.
Right.
So those kind of things really do matter.
Yeah.
And it can give you a leg up when you get out. But it does matter what you put into it.
Definitely, because if you don't care or try, you're not gonna get what you want out of it.
And these are, and I know you're probably thinking this whole guy's telling you this stuff, but it's things that I look back and I say, yeah, I could have done that so much better and been so much better off coming out of school.
Right, because coming out of school is the hardest part.
Yeah. And so I really didn't have that network. And I kind of looked into my job and have managed not to get fired for 15 years. So
there you go. As long as you're not getting fired, you're doing great. Yeah, that's a good point with the name brand, like the naming of colleges and how that matters. Sadly, because you can get the same education in a lot of places, but I will take advantage of the USF courses they offer at my school, because they don't offer them to other high schools, except like the one I'm taking now, they only offer to my high school, and that's it.
Well, whatever you can take in high school, absolutely take in high school.
Yeah.
If it counts for college credit?
Yep. They have 3 APs as well, so. But I'll have more next year.
Well, I only had 2 AP courses in high school.
Oh,
and it still took me 5 years to graduate college.
Well, I took 2 freshman year. I only took 1 last year, and I was supposed to take 4 this year along with the college class, but the way my school did scheduling was weird, so I had to drop 1. And then next year I'll probably take like 4 or 5. So I'll have a nice dent into some like preliminary classes.
So you'll easily be a sophomore when you start college.
That sounds about right. Because I haven't failed any of my AP exams. I mean, I didn't do so well in like world history, because that's kind of like, history just isn't. Also, like, this is so unrelated to anything we've been talking about, but it's so unfair. So they had the curriculum, like last year it was 10,000 BCE to now, right? And so they give you like, okay, here's, 10,000 years of history, learn it. Now they start at like 1200. Like 1200. They don't, not 1200 BC, 1200. And they just go to now. And it's like, okay, so now they only have to learn 800 years and not 10,000. Okay. I guess so.
The first 6,000 or 7,000 years there's not a whole hell of a lot to.
Oh, no, the Chinese dynasties. Oh. China broke apart and reunited again so many times.
No.
And they expect you to know.
I took AP American History. I didn't take.
Yeah, I'm taking that right now.
I love that class.
I don't really like American history until you get to like somewhere in between Revolutionary and Civil War. That's when I start to find it. Like the beginning stuff isn't too interesting. It's just like, okay, yeah, they colonized and they killed all the Native Americans and started bringing African slaves. I know. Why are we gonna talk about this again the 4th time?
I had a really good teacher in high school for it.
Oh, okay. My teacher was pretty good.
I think that made a difference. I only took 2 AP classes, so and one of them was calculus, and I ended up saying, "To heck with this! I'll retook it in college."
I'm taking that right now. Although I've heard sometimes when you take calculus, they don't count it always because they'll be like, oh, it's not like they won't always count AP Calc for like engineering courses. They'll be like, not engineering calc because it's like slightly different.
That could be the way it is now.
I have one of my teachers told me, and he was like, yeah, I went to college and they said, oh, that's not the same, and he had to retake it. But then he said he just kind of did the tests right away, and they were like, "Oh, you passed our exam already. It's crazy."
There's not a whole lot of difference in Calc 1 between what you do in high school and what you take in college.
No, I'm taking AP Calc 1 right now.
Even if it is for engineers, there really isn't. Calculus is pretty much calculus.
Yeah.
Physics is totally different.
I wish... See, the thing that sucks is I want to take AP Physics, right? But at the same time, my school doesn't really have good teachers for it, so I don't know if it's worth taking. But I might take it next year, like Physics C. Because the teacher doesn't care as long as you're in a calculus class. He'll let you take Physics C, even if you haven't taken Physics Honors. So...
Physics with calculus gets tough.
Yeah. The only thing I don't like about calculus right now is in Calc 1, they tell you all these things, and they're like, memorize it. We're not going to tell you why it works. You'll learn that next year.
They won't tell you next year either.
Yeah, exactly. And then they'll be like, oh, wait, we need to know something else the year after this year. So you have to wait some more. That's my gripe is... A lot of teachers don't take the time. We used to have teachers that did, but like this weird thing happened where like my entire math department at my school left last year. Like my school has an amazing magnet program, but the school itself is not ran very well. And that happened. And they had teachers that would explain it, but now we don't. So I asked my teacher, "Oh, why is that?" And she's like, "Oh, you'll learn it next year. Maybe not."
Are any of the calculus teachers former engineers?
No.
So, unless you do something that requires calculus to solve a problem, it's difficult, even for a teacher that knows how to do calculus. It's hard to take that and project it on a use.
A real life application of calculus. Yeah. My teacher, I remember I had my civil teacher was talking about like airflow through like hair dryers and using
fluid, any kind of fluid dynamics.
Yeah.
And dynamics is basically physics with calculus.
Yep.
And things that move. And so you have to know velocities, accelerations, and positions and things like that. And in engineering, that translates really well into kinetics. So like in your class where you had your mechanism that you made, that's kinetics. Mm-hmm. And those sorts of things, it's a lot easier to see how calculus applies. I rarely have to do calculus.
That's nice. I don't mind calculus, but at the same time it's kind of annoying. Just with certain things about, I don't know. Calculus is weird. Well, I think that about covers everything I really wanted to talk about. Thank you for your time.
No problem.
All right. Well, have a good night.
You too.
All right. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you. I'm gonna stop procrastinating. I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna try to do a lot better next quarter and next semester, and senior year. So that way, getting into college will be easier.
Well, it sounds like you're doing good, and I'm pretty sure USF would probably jump at you and take you. Just even though you're probably going to get what, Bright Futures or something like that.
Yeah, I just got to get a 1290 on my SAT and do 100 hours of community service, which I'm working on right now because we go to I've been going to like middle schools and like marketing my school. Like I didn't start till this year for my community service, and then I was like, oh, because we have circuits for like from our digital electronics class that we show, and they're like it draw kids over because it's like, oh my god, flashy lights, what does this do? I want to go here. And I was like, maybe I should make a circuit that says, my school name and some other stuff. And like, oh, we'll give you community service hours for how long it takes you to make it. And I'm like, making circuits takes a while. This is amazing. That's going to take me at least like 10 hours just because you got to design it, got to figure out. So and wiring is not fun on breadboards because I'm not going to get like a printed circuit board. So it's just going to be on a breadboard. And that's a pain, but it's cheaper.
yourself a favor, get that Bright Futures, because you can go to any Florida school and get your college paid for. I don't know if it's 75 or 100% anymore.
It's a good chunk.
On top of that, especially at USF, if you have decent grades, apply for an academic scholarship.
Yeah.
And get the list of all available scholarships and apply for every single one that you can, because you never know, you might get one. I on a whim applied for an academic scholarship, and they gave me $1,000 a year for 4 years.
There you go.
So, that pretty much took care of all my books.
Yeah. I'm just glad that I'm going to a school that has, like, a good engineering program, because that adds, like, things I can, not for college particularly, but, like, application for internships in high school and stuff. It's like, I can say that, I've done mild experience in certain things before,
Yeah.
So I'm just grateful that I live in an area with a good high school that I can attend. I mean, I don't live in the area because I still have to take a bus there, but I'm not too far. And luckily, I'm in the county, and I can go there, and it's great because we have a really good, and our teacher is the one who teaches principles of engineering and computer integrated manufacturing and aerospace, is basically a walking, living textbook and a wealth of, like, absolute knowledge about just any questions you have, and it's a pretty invaluable resource too, like, the person. I don't know, so glad to have that.
Well, it sounds like you're doing well, and I think you'll be all right. And when you do get to college, it sounds like you're going to be much better prepared for engineering than I was.
And you seem to be doing fine, so I guess that's good.
Hey, instead of working at a small firm like I do, you'll end up working at an Amazon or something like that.
Maybe. Well, I appreciate those kind words, and I'm going to let you enjoy the rest of your evening.
All right. Thank you. Have a good one.
You too, man.
Bye.
Bye.